Hi there, friends. I'm Mike Brach. This is Tribe Wellness, and today we're going to talk about a great boxing basics punching move, the uppercut. Uppercuts are a more advanced type of punch, and they're fantastic for allowing each boxer or each of our fighters to really have a good weight shift, good hip movement, and to really unleash some hard power on a target. In other videos, we've gone over some boxing basics with things like the jab, which is a nice straight punch where you reach out and pull back up high. We've gone over other punches like the cross, which is another straight punch where you use your back hand, your dominant hand, to really generate some power, reaching across the body and pulling back up high. We even did a video with hooks. And with hooks, we know that we can pivot and we can bring those shorter, closer range punches into play using our hips to do the driving, where we really generate a lot of force from the trunk, from moving the hips, as opposed to cranking out with the arm. And if you look at really effective boxers, if you look at really effective fighters over the years, those fighters are able to generate force using their whole body as opposed to just relying on upper body strength. The hook that we learned can be thrown off the front or off the back. When I say front, I'm talking about the side of the body that's closer to your target. If you got one leg forward, that's your front leg. One leg backward, that's your back leg. The hook, we know, also takes place in what is called the horizontal plane of motion. And that's where we're going around the body, almost like you're scooping or scraping the inside of a barrel. The uppercut is a very similar punch. We use similar pivots. We use similar body mechanics. But the difference is, instead of coming around in this horizontal plane, we're bringing the motion from a downward force to a rising upward force in what's called the sagittal plane, where if you were to cut a body in half, that's the sagittal plane. With the uppercut, just like with the hook, the power comes from our pivots as opposed to upper body strength. I can't emphasize that enough. And we've even got another video that you can go back and look at for help with your pivots. Just like with the hook, the uppercut can be thrown off the front or off the back. And I want to go over a few basics with you first. With our uppercuts, too often you see people reach way down towards their hip and go straight up. That's an ineffective punch for fighting purposes. Or for our gang, a lot of our folks are working on muscles of postural control, of trunk control, and they're looking to work on balance strategies that come from striking a target and having to absorb forces from the target to maintain that really good upright posture. So if that's the case, you can see how just kind of flopping your hand, you're not only going to hurt your wrist or your hand, but you're not going to be throwing a great punch. So I really want you to think about starting just like we always do in fighting stance, shoulders back, hands up and heads up. And I want you to think about a compact uppercut. Not one like Mike Tyson where you go way down and explode upward, although that would be very cool and it'd be fun to see you do it, as long as you could do it safely. We're talking more about a compact uppercut that starts from fighting stance. We drop the hand we're punching down just a few inches and turn the wrist in towards you. Then by pivoting, by turning the hips, we get a lot of force as we reach that hand out just a bit. Just like all of our punches, we're trying to make contact with the pointer finger knuckle and the middle finger knuckle. So we want a tight fist coming up, making contact with the target. With the uppercut, let's just try a few. We're in fighting stance. We drop the backhand a few inches away from the face. turn the wrist in a little bit more towards you and try first just turning the hips out and turning them back and pulling the hand up high. Out and back. Out and back. And you see, I'm not really reaching way under. I'm also not pushing this uppercut. It comes down and up. So you can turn in a bit now, pivot, and it creates some power. Turn in, pivot, and create some power. We're doing a compact, close range uppercut. It's easier for most people that I see to work from the back side with their uppercut because they're used to shifting the weight forward and they're used to that some amount of pivot off the back foot. What's harder for people when they've got that uppercut down from the back side is working on the front side, because that requires that you keep your weight back a little bit so you can appropriately pivot on that front foot. If you're leaning in, you just got so much more friction you're fighting. And not only are you fighting friction, but you're creating a lot of torque and twisting in your knee. We don't need any of that. So when you throw your uppercut on the front, try to first sit back a bit, drop the front hand a few inches, turn in and reach out. Every time we're going to pull it back to the face, reach out, pull back, pivot out, pivot back, pivot out, pivot back, pivot out, pivot back. And then you can get in a good rhythm doing these over and over and over, 10 with one hand, 10 with the other, 15 with one hand, 15 with the other. You can work your way up to 50 or 100 as long as your shoulders can take it and as long as you got good form. And then you can really start to have some fun adding to it by twisting in a bit and then creating more power, turning away, creating more power, getting a little lower, creating more power, exploding up more from the legs and creating more power. And that's how you can have a lot of fun with basics of your uppercut. There are all kinds of uppercut drills we like to do in class where we work our way up the punching bag, throwing uppercuts with big pivots. We work our way down the punching bag, throwing uppercuts with big pivots. But you notice none of this works if we're really dropping the hand down too low. That's not a great uppercut. That's not giving you great trunk control or a great pivot. There's not a lot of great weight shifting involved there. So I want you to think just like with the hook, the key to the uppercut comes from your pivot and turning the hips. The hips always do the driving. When you've gotten it down doing it a whole bunch on one hand and a whole bunch on the other, maybe you start to alternate. Maybe you set a timer to keep this going, and as it gets easy, or as the mind starts to wander elsewhere, you can come back to asking yourself, am I bringing those punches back to the face every time to fight those postural impairments we're fighting? Or to stay pretty, stay safe? So that's one more punch that you can have for your arsenal. You've got a jab, you've got a cross, you got a front hook, you got a back hook, and now you got a front uppercut and a back uppercut. We'll put together more videos. You can use the other videos. You can string some of this stuff together and have some fun with it. And now more than ever, when you're at home, you've got no excuses. So if most of the world is shut down, it's a great time to take a few minutes to do some shadow boxing, to work on your combinations, maybe even change stances a bit. You can even do these from a chair too, and you can still focus on big control of your punches from your trunk. So I hope this video helps you out with some basics of body mechanics, using the hips, using the pivots to really drive your uppercuts. Thanks for watching, and be on the lookout for more soon. Take care.